Yes. Hi, Danny. Thank you so much for accepting my request for the podcast and the video, of course. Thank you ever so much. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Bahar. How are you? And I think you look amazing and you're ready for this. So am I. So thank you very much for inviting me for this lovely, lovely podcast. Let's talk some honest things today. Let's do it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. So, for you guys, who is Danny? Can you a little bit introduce yourself, Danny?
Perfect. So I'll talk about who I am currently and then I'll tell you what happened. How did I come here? And so I am Danny Mirza. I'm currently the head of and lead for the talent team, which is the career service for Coventry University, London. So basically head of a service. But I am a former international student and I came to the UK 7 to 8 years ago for a master's degree, just like many students in the UK. But I stayed on and I am working in the sector I'm really passionate about. I wanted a career support dedicated to international students. I never got it. I said, okay, let's create it. So let's be that someone who I never had. But remember, you see my LinkedIn, you see where I am today. But I started just like an international student, landed in September, applying for the grad schemes, trying to get a part time job, not getting one, accommodation issues, finance issues, all those things that an international student goes through. Been there, done that, lived it. But here I am today. So that's who Danny Mirza is.
That's really good to hear because I think we are sharing the same stories together. I was also international student and coming from the same background with Danny. Like I thought there is not too much support for international students, and let's be that support for them. And also while developing myself. So I'm really glad you are here today. Thank you so much again. So
Thank you.
how did you start your journey, Danny? So today we're going to talk about yourself, your experiences,
Mhm.
because it's really valuable for everyone, which is I know a little bit about you, but I really want everybody to know about you, your background. How did you, establish yourself in UK job market? How you start developing yourself, how you realize the things and understand like your own career path. And then we will go in more
Mhm.
details in your current role as well, because you are the head of career services. It's going to be really valuable information for international students and for every students, to be honest, not only international students. So
Uh,
how did you started your journey back to your degree or postgrad or master? I know you
yep.
have top degrees.
So perfect. I came to the UK to do my second masters. My life was amazing. Let's take the life back to our own countries because all international students are living some sort of a life back in their life in countries. I was originally from Pakistan, working for a careers, not a careers, but a consultancy, a training consultancy, a business consultancy as their training head. So life was amazing. I had my own PA. Life was amazing. I already did a masters there. I was doing some teaching gigs there. So I was living amazing life. But then, like all international students, I got a scholarship as well. And but I had aspirations of let's go try another country. Came to the UK. I said, okay, lovely. I'll bring in all my experience from my country. I did an MBA already. I'll do my second master's in human resource management, and I'll start working in HR, being an HR consultant. God knows what. Nothing of that sort happened. So I came to the UK and did my masters. Went through the whole journey. First of all, I was struggling getting a part-time job. Isn't that all of us, right? All the people listening and seeing,
Yeah.
all of us part-time jobs. I'm like, how saturated the market is. I came to a small city, so I came to Lancaster. I'm like, oh, there are barely any roles, and people don't leave roles in the UK. I'm like, okay, so there are no roles, and people don't leave roles. How do we get into the market? My first role, and I am not ashamed to share that. I always share it everywhere I go. My first role was pot washing. So basically, I worked in a hospitality gig for a buffet, washing pots. In a buffet, it's very tough. The first time I ever did it, and quite a cultural shock as well as a work level shock. I would say the shock as well that I had to do this. Being an HR consultant, CIPD level 7, 2 masters, careers consultant, used doing this just because you need to get to start working because every single day in the UK that you're not working, you're losing money. That is the
Yes,
reality. That
that's
you're not
right.
doing a part-time job, you're losing money every single day. I was like, let's not lose money. So I started doing that. That was my first job. So you see me now. That was my first job. Yeah, and then I got a role in Primark. There's one thing that I always say that whenever you start small, start somewhere, do that. Don't stay in that role for too long. I always say this to students: start wherever. out of circumstance, if you're doing any part-time role, nothing is bad, everything is permitted, but it
You
will
just need
become
to
bad if you stay in it for too long. Like a movie, in the movie in Batman, I guess they said, leave when you are a hero or stay long enough to see yourself become a villain. So please don't stay in a role for too long so that you become a villain of your life. Don't do that. So I kept on applying and I got a role in Primark. So biggest tip I would say, when you come to the UK, find the recruitment cycles which can help you. So the temporary hiring cycle for the holiday period in December, so
very
temporary hires,
important.
and then the temporary hire period for Easter. These are two temporary hire periods which you can get a role in. Who cares if it's temporary? You go in and do a really, really good work, and then after the temporary period ends, they have positions they need to fill, because hospitality, whether it's retail, whether it's any part-time job sector, there's high attrition in it. People do leave, students do leave, people leave the jobs. So if you are the next in line, even if you're on a temporary contract, you'll be selected if you're doing a great job. And we do good in retail anyway, because we like to talk, and most of the international students do. But no part-time job is a bad job, and I know everything the students are doing nowadays, from security roles
I
to
think it's very unrelated sometimes, but it's really important to part-time just because it's skills, it's transferable skills, and it's soft
exactly.
skills. It's very useful for their future, definitely.
For sure. So that's how I started. Start small, start somewhere, but do not stay in that role. So that's how I started. And then I did my master's, and then I'll talk about all the gigs I've done. So I didn't stop. I did not have the graduate visa like a lot of people now have. I went on to something called the startup visa. So I was like, okay, let's buy time in the UK. Startup. I had a startup idea that I was already working in Pakistan, my own country. I brought it here, got a startup visa. On a startup visa, you can work full time as well. So on a startup visa, alongside working on my startup, I was working three jobs. Let's talk about two jobs that I was working
This
on.
was how many years ago, startup visa? I just want to highlight now there is no startup
The
visa
startup
existing
visa now,
anymore,
yeah,
unfortunately. Yeah.
exactly. So it was 3.5, 4 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's when I did it, and so at that time I got the